Yeah, my mom was a great person. She's worked at Johns Hopkins for over 23 years, and everybody at Hopkins is very deeply upset about this. And she's always been a good mom and a great grandmother to my daughter, and she's going to be greatly missed.
Crystal Grubb was last seen near an abandoned water treatment plant on September 18, 2010. Weeks later, her body was found in a remote cornfield, clad only in underwear. No suspects have been charged, and the case remains open. If you remember anything from that night or saw something unusual, your information could help solve this case. Sometimes even the smallest detail can break a case wide open. Stay with us as we explore the facts and seek justice for Crystal. On October 2010, a farmer harvesting his cornfield in northern Monroe County, Indiana, made a grim discovery. In a remote area near North Showers Road, approximately 5 miles north of Bloomington, and well outside the city limits, he found the decomposing body of a woman. She was partially clothed, wearing only underwear. Authorities were called to the scene, and the remains were later identified as 29-year-old Crystal Grubb, a mother of 2 young daughters. Crystal had been missing for nearly 2 weeks. Her mother had reported her disappearance on September 19th, the day after she was last seen. The advanced decomposition of the body confirmed what her family had feared. Crystal had likely died shortly after vanishing. Police officially ruled the case a homicide. She had been strangled, though officials withheld additional details regarding the manner of death. The specific condition of the body and other forensic findings were not disclosed publicly. Due to the location where the body was found, the jurisdiction of the investigation shifted from the Bloomington Police Department to the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. The transition marked the beginning of a homicide investigation that, over a decade later, remains open and unsolved. The cornfield, surrounded by rural land and far from any homes, offered few immediate clues. There were no witnesses and no obvious evidence indicating who might have committed the crime or why. What began as a missing person report had now become a murder case. A young woman, known for her role as a mother and member of her local community, had been found dead in a quiet, isolated stretch of farmland. This discovery marked the start of a long, painful journey for her family and community, who continued to search for answers and accountability in a case that remains one of Monroe County's most haunting unsolved crimes.
The last night. What happened to Crystal? The last known movements of 29-year-old Crystal Grubb trace back to the evening of September 18, 2010. That night, Crystal was in the company of her boyfriend and 2 other men. The group had gathered near an abandoned water treatment facility just off North Business Indy 37, a 2-lane road leading out of Bloomington, Indiana. The area, surrounded by woods and bordered by Bean Blossom Creek, offered a degree of isolation. According to law enforcement and family accounts, the group was reportedly engaging in methamphetamine-related activity near the creek. At some point, Crystal became upset and walked away from the group. What triggered her departure remains unclear. Some speculate it was a disagreement. Others believe she may have felt unsafe. Whatever the reason, that decision marked the last time anyone confirmed seeing her alive. The following day, Crystal's mother, Janice Grubb, grew alarmed when her daughter failed to return home or check in. Crystal had 2 young daughters, ages 6 and 2 at the time, and her mother was adamant that she would never willingly abandon them. Janice contacted authorities and reported her missing on September 19. In the days that followed, local law enforcement conducted several searches in the areas where Crystal had last been seen. On September 20th, police scoured the region near the abandoned facility. 2 days later, they returned with search dogs, combing the same location again. A conservation officer also used a boat to search nearby Griffey Lake, but no clues were recovered. Despite the mounting concern, there were no verified sightings, no phone records, and no communication from Crystal. The final coordinated search occurred on September 30th. Officers and dogs spent 5 hours searching without results. The next day, a farmer stumbled upon Crystal's body in a cornfield along North Showers Road. This section underscores the eerie silence that followed Crystal's disappearance. It raises haunting questions. Where did she go after leaving the group? Did someone follow her? Was she taken by force? The circumstances of her final night remain shrouded in uncertainty, offering little clarity to the investigators and even less to the family desperately seeking answers.
A family torn apart, grief without answers. Crystal Grubb's death devastated her family in ways that extended far beyond the loss of her life. Her disappearance came at a time when her father, Tim Grubb, was facing a life-threatening diagnosis. Just days before Crystal vanished, Tim learned he had throat cancer. He was undergoing surgery at Bloomington Hospital while his daughter was missing. The dual crisis, searching for Crystal while grappling with Tim's declining health, placed unbearable emotional strain on the family. Tim never learned who took his daughter's life. He died in January 2018 after years of illness and grief, never seeing justice served. The pain of not having answers compounded the physical suffering he endured. His sister, Shelley Grubb, spoke openly about how deeply Tim was affected by Crystal's disappearance, calling the series of tragedies one after another. Janice Grubb, Crystal's mother, was left to carry the emotional and practical weight of these losses. In August 2018, just months after Tim's death, she lost Tony Williams, the father of Crystal's daughters, to the same form of cancer. These back-to-back losses left Janice not only grieving her daughter and two close family members, but also stepping into the role of primary caregiver for her granddaughters, Abby and Rose. Janice has described the pain of Crystal's murder and the years without resolution as unbearable. Her grief is compounded by the burden of silence, months and years passing without updates from law enforcement, without suspects, and without closure. She has repeatedly expressed frustration with the lack of communication from investigators and the feeling that Crystal's case has not received the attention it deserves. This section highlights how an unsolved homicide inflicts long-term emotional damage. The grief is not contained to the moment of loss. It stretches across years, magnified by unanswered questions and the weight of injustice. For Crystal's family, healing has been made nearly impossible without accountability. Searching for Crystal, delayed or dismissed. Following Crystal Grubb's disappearance on the night of September 18, 2010, her family was quick to alert authorities. Her mother, Janice Grubb, filed the missing person report the next day, emphasizing that Crystal would never willingly abandon her two young daughters. Yet in the days that followed, growing frustration took hold within the family as they perceived a lack of urgency in the search effort. Crystal's aunt, Shelley Grubb, has been particularly vocal, accusing the Bloomington Police Department and Monroe County Sheriff's Office of not doing enough early on. She questioned whether the family's socioeconomic status or Crystal's past influenced how seriously the case was taken. Shelley went so far as to claim that police didn't truly commit resources until media coverage began, especially after the Nancy Grace Show highlighted Crystal's case in early October. "If it wasn't for that farmer, I don't know how long it would have taken to find her," she said. Law enforcement, however, strongly refuted these accusations. Deputy Mike Pershing stated that officers began searching on September 20th, just a day after the report was filed. They returned on September 22nd with search dogs and again on September 30th for a final major effort that lasted 5 hours. Griffey Lake was also searched by boat, and the investigation zone was gradually widened. Despite these efforts, no trace of Crystal was found until the following day, October 1st, when a farmer discovered her decomposing body in a cornfield near Showers Road. The location where her body was found was remote, outside Bloomington city limits, and without nearby homes. After the discovery, the case was officially transferred to the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. This section addresses the divide between Crystal's family and local authorities, a tension fueled by differing perspectives on how the investigation was handled. While police cite the lack of actionable leads as a key barrier, the family maintains that earlier, more aggressive searches may have made a difference. The questions raised point to broader concerns about systemic inequities and whether all missing persons cases receive equal attention, especially when victims come from vulnerable or stigmatized backgrounds. The investigation stalls. No suspects, no answers. Though Crystal Grubb's death was officially ruled a homicide, the investigation into her murder has yielded few answers. From the beginning, law enforcement withheld key details, most notably the exact cause of death, other than confirming she had been strangled. Whether forensic evidence was recovered from the scene or if any items were missing from Crystal's person remains undisclosed to this day. No suspects have ever been publicly named. In the weeks following the discovery of her body at a cornfield on October 1, 2010, Monroe County investigators expressed interest in a small red car reported seen near North Showers Road on the night Crystal went missing. Authorities suggested the driver might have witnessed something or known information relevant to the case. However, no updates have been provided regarding whether that lead produced any viable direction, or if the vehicle or its driver was ever identified. Over the years, media attention has diminished, and community discussion around the case has quieted. Crystal's family have reported long periods without contact from detectives, reinforcing their concern that the case is no longer active. Despite repeated pleas to the public, tips have dried up, and there have been no breakthroughs. Crystal's murder now stands among many unsolved cases involving young women across Indiana, cases that once drew headlines but have since gone cold. The lack of resolution, paired with the limited information made available, has deepened a sense of abandonment felt by the family and those close to Crystal.
A march for justice, keeping Crystal's memory alive. Every year on October 1st, family members, friends, and supporters gather in Bloomington, Indiana to honor the life of Crystal Grubb and to demand justice for her still unsolved murder. The event, known simply as the Justice Walk, begins at People's Park and winds through the heart of the city, passing symbolic landmarks such as the Zeitlo Justice Center, Monroe County Jail, Smallwood Plaza, and Kilroy's Sports Bar. For the Grubb family, this annual march serves not only as a tribute to Crystal's life, but also as a public call for accountability in her case and others like it. Organized primarily by Crystal's mother, Janice Grubb, the march has grown over time to include remembrance of other young women whose cases remain open. Lauren Spearer, an Indiana University student who vanished in 2011, and Delphi teens Libby German and Abby Williams, murdered in 2017, have also been honored during the event. These inclusions reflect the broader mission of the walk, to draw attention to the systemic issue of unresolved violence against women in Indiana and beyond. Despite experiencing devastating personal loss, including the deaths of her husband Tim Grubb and Tony Williams, the father of Crystal's daughters, Janice has remained committed to keeping her daughter's memory alive. Even when health issues prevented her from participating fully in the walk, Janice still showed up to speak, connect with the community, and urge others not to forget. One particularly powerful moment occurred when Indiana University students, unaware of the walk's purpose, stopped to listen to Janice tell Crystal's story. She spoke openly about the dangers that women face, especially in communities where violent crimes go unsolved. The students expressed gratitude for her courage and honesty, proof that the walk still matters and still reaches new audiences. This section highlights the strength of collective memory and the role public participation plays in sustaining momentum in cold cases. Through grief, advocacy, and persistence, Janice and the Bloomington community continue to push for justice, not just for Crystal, but for all whose stories risk fading into silence.
Despite the passage of time and the silence from law enforcement, Janice's resolve has not wavered. She expresses deep frustration at the lack of communication and progress in the investigation. "It can happen to anybody else's kid. It's gotta stop," she insists, capturing both her heartbreak and determination. Her words resonate as a plea to the community to remain vigilant and supportive in cases of violence against women. Janice continues to encourage anyone with information, no matter how insignificant it may seem, to come forward and aid the Monroe County Sheriff's Department. She believes that even the smallest detail could be the key to unlocking the mystery surrounding Crystal's murder. The family's hope rests on community involvement, underscoring the essential role the public plays in seeking justice when official leads run dry. This segment closes by emphasizing that behind every unsolved crime lies a family living with unanswered questions and ongoing pain. Crystal Grubb's memory endures through her mother's relentless advocacy and the annual march that calls attention to her story. It is a reminder that unresolved cases are not just cold files, they are ongoing human tragedies that demand attention, empathy, and action.